agenda? Okay, the agenda will stand as presented. You also have the minutes. You take a couple minutes to review those if you haven't done so.
Jim, I'll make a motion. We approve the minutes.
Motion from Ted. Do we hear a second from anyone?
Second.
I'll second.
I'm sorry, who was the second from? The first second?
Richard.
All right. All in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Great, thank you. You also have, under the business items B1, the expenditures and the revenue. From a discussion just a few minutes ago with Cassidy, it appears that the expenditures are fairly final for the fiscal year, except for, Cassidy, correct me if I'm wrong, a small adjustment from Intercom. Is that correct?
Correct. So our expenditures will actually be down a bit from what's seen in the agenda.
Okay. And so I don't see anything else unusual about those expenditures.
Jim, this is Malia. Just as an FYI, that Intercom invoice of $25.56 will be, there's a $2,087 credit memo that will be going to the city, so that will drop down to $470.
Say that again, Malia. I think that's what we were just saying.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you having trouble hearing me?
Yes, I am. There's a lot of background noise.
Let me turn the volume up. Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay. Instead of $25.56.67, that amount will drop down to $470.
Right. That's what Cassidy was saying.
Okay, great.
That's showing on the screen now.
Perfect.
Then expenditures. Pretty dismal as expected. We have started to receive the revenue for the months when the county actually gave a little bit of a grace period to the hotels for submitting their occupancy tax. We're not quite sure if that $5,000 includes March. It's there in April, or if we will indeed see another payment for the month of March. We don't think so, but we should see some revenue for the month of June. This unfortunately puts us about, I would guess at least $15,000 below what we had budgeted, maybe $20,000 below what we budgeted. We took steps to adjust this as best we could. Unfortunately, there just wasn't a lot of time, and when COVID-19 hit, we were really approaching the end of our fiscal year, at least from a decision-making standpoint, about what money we were going to spend. So we will take a hit to our fund balance. Our fund balance should cover any shortfall that we have in the budget. I will say the other thing is, if you look at the expenditures, you will see that the image campaign and the expenditures, we did intend for that to come out of our fund balance. So that was when we discussed that, it was an unplanned expenditure, but we wanted to support the Greater Gaston Development Corporation's promotional campaign, and so we decided to take that out of the fund balance. So that was expected. That's why I say, shortfall is really going to be about $15,000 or $20,000 less than what we expected. Any questions about that financial report? Okay. So that is information, and we'll move on to I think it's the Lyerly Agency presentation. Is that the next on our? Oh, we need to talk about board membership. Forgive me. No, I'm losing my place. Sorry, it is the Lyerly Agency. Malia, I will pass the computer to you.
Okay. All right, very good. We have been working on the budget and Jim asked us to, can you hear me? Am I clear now?
You are, yes.
Okay, great. Jim had asked us to do two budgets, one for $30,000 and another one for $45,000. So we put a budget together to reflect that. And we also, because this is such a crazy time, we don't know how this COVID-19 is going to play out, and if we're going to get a real big flare, if it's going to settle down. So we also added a third column of potential add-ons in case things clear up more quickly than we expected. And so I will share my screen so that we can go through the budget together. Okay. So as you can see at the top, here's our $30,000 budget. Then a second column shows the $45,000 budget and then potential add-ons. So if the budget is $30,000, the thing that is going to be the most important is to keep the website going and to keep social media going, and so that we keep updated and current, and people have access to find out information about things that are going on, and that Belmont stays on the radar. So with a $30,000 budget, we see that going into professional services for those kinds of things, online postings, keeping both websites updated with Visit Belmont NC and also Belmont Brides. And so that would be a baseline of keeping the word out. In the second column, with the $45,000, I'll scroll down. So this is an add-on. So that the second column is additional things that we should do added on to the $30,000 budget. So with that, we've got search engine marketing. Last year we took that down a great deal. We cut that by a lot. We think that $750 a month would be kind of a baseline. So that's $9,000 for 12 months. For weddings, we think we should hold off until probably January. Usually there are a lot of engagements in December, so starting in January, people start looking for venues. So we have a budget in here, but this is on the third column of the potential add-ons of $250 a month for January through June, so for those 6 months. The next things we have are by event. So the first event that we'll be coming up on is Oktoberfest. And we've got this in the far column as potential add-ons because our guess is that Oktoberfest may still need to be scaled down, that we may not be having, the party in the street and all the bouncy houses and things like that with the children, that we probably won't be so far along with COVID. So, but if it all happens and things clear up, then we put it in that potential add-ons column. So with that, we've got the digital ads for Charlotte Stories, Charlotte 5, digital ad for Charlotte Agenda, and then a rack card. What we have done is we've tried to rethink the rack card in that maybe we could go smaller. You can see this size is 3.5 by 8.5. We thought maybe what we could do is get an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper and get 3 out of them. So it's much smaller than the 4 by 9 that we currently use. You may not have as many things to need all that real estate. So, and then with the digital ads, we have in this included not only the placement, but also our time to do it. Normally, that's all included in the professional services time, but since we cut that time, then, we just put them with the items themselves. So in case we need to pick and choose and we say, let's just do the digital ads for Charlotte Stories and Charlotte 5, which are the two strongest, then, this is set up more like a menu where you can choose. Does that make sense?
Sure.
For Christmas 2020, we do think that Christmas 2020 can happen. Not sure what will be, one of the things, we promote a lot of things at Christmas. We promote the items that the city is doing. We promote holidays at the garden, and we also promote the Caddyville. And a lot of those things are still visible, you can do in a car or you can socially distance. So we did put the digital ads, Charlotte Stories and Charlotte 5, in the $45,000 budget. So we do think that at a minimum, that's, hopefully we can do that. Hopefully there's budget to do it. One of the great things is that as the world starts opening up, and people start traveling more too. So hopefully these things, as we're able to do them, they will also be reflected at the same time with revenues from the Hampton. So then also in Christmas 2020, we have the digital ad for Charlotte Agenda. That's in the third column. Newswire for the holidays. With the Newswire, we had already paid for a Newswire for Belmont Blooms this year. That we canceled it, and they allowed us to cancel it, and they have given us they will not refund the money. So, but they said we can use it for Christmas or we can use it for another thing. So there's a zero budget for that, and that's because it's the credit from Belmont Blooms cancellation this year. The rack card, we have on there for the rack card. And then the digital billboard, Carrie said that when FAR was sold, that the Carstarfin still kept control of the billboard. So we're hoping that they will still give us free space on there.
They will. I talked to them about that before I
Okay.
left, so we can, depending on who is still there, when time comes, will be who we work with. But they were okay with us still donating that space.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. And then the next group is Belmont Blooms for next year. And Belmont Blooms includes Garibaldi Festival. So we've got digital ads for Charlotte Stories, Charlotte 5. And we have this in the second column, so in the $45,000 budget. We are surely hoping we're going to be able to do some things for Belmont Blooms next year. And then we have digital ads for Charlotte Stories and Charlotte 5, one in March, one in April. And then we've got digital ads for Charlotte Agenda for March and April. The Newswire, we would love to send out a Newswire. That's in the second column. Rack card, we put in the third column. Our state, this past year, we sent out 3 emails from our state. One was, 2 of them were travel and events emails, and one of them was a general email that was specifically about Belmont Blooms. We had some really good response from those. Unfortunately, the event was canceled, but this coming year, we would like to continue to do the 2 travel and events emails, one in March, one in April. Digital billboard on I-85, we've got it 0. And then, as you know, this year we approved the WBT radio and the Link radio, radio that was online and a video package. And this is the one that dropped on the budget this year. We would like to pick that up again. Hopefully the tourism, and hopefully the city of Belmont, and hopefully Daniel Stowe would be able to go back in on it. But that's in the third column because there are a lot of, need a lot of cooperation from the three entities. That's in the third column. Next is Friday Night Live, and we have digital ads on that and also a rack card. So in the center column, we didn't hit 45,000, but we hit right under 49,000. And then in the third column, with everything that we proposed, that is a budget of 68,600. So try to reduce that so you can see it a little better. So this is our proposed budget. Does anyone have any questions or comments?
Any questions or comments from the board? Okay. Hearing no questions, we'll accept this as information for right now, and we'll move to the budget discussion. And everybody should have the budget that I provided last week. I actually had not seen Malia's proposal prior to that proposed budget. So I kind of went in the middle, and at last meeting, after consulting with Ashley, is that we could expect a budget of about, and I'm trying to bring up that budget, forgive me. We could expect a revenue budget of somewhere around $70,000, and I'm going to share my screen at this point.
Do I need to unshare mine?
Yeah, go ahead and unshare yours if you would.
Okay.
So there we go. So I put in the $70,000 occupancy tax revenue. You move through administration, and these are pretty much fees that we have to pay. I guess not. We don't have to pay postage or tourism dues to visit Charlotte. The benefit of that is that they are partners of ours, and we get listed on their website, and they will tend to promote us. At the Garden, I benefit from that pretty significantly, and they have done a number of things for Belmont in the past. So for $650, I think it's pretty good value. Moving on to grants, we have already committed $20,000 to the Belmont Trolley. I have not spoken to the Belmont Trolley about kind of what COVID-19 has maybe done to their plans. Ryan, I don't know if you have anything that you can add to that, if you've spoken with those folks, but you've been pretty involved in that project. Ryan, are you there? Okay.
Jim, this is Ted.
Yeah.
I'm not very much involved in the Belmont Trolley project, but I did have a conversation with Rob Presley this week. And my understanding from what Rob said was that the trolley organization is counting on that contribution from the city or from the tourism board, and have plans to begin the work to actually do the architectural and engineering drawings for the meeting venue and trolley barn.
Okay.
From those funds. So we were talking about other things, but and we did not talk deeply about the trolley. But my impression from Rob as early as this week, they intend to ask for those funds right away.
Okay. So it's in the budget. Certainly doesn't leave a lot of room for any other grants, but it is in the budget. It is payable in July, and I think we should stay with that commitment. What I did down in the marketing category is like I said, I had not seen Malia's proposal before I did this budget, so I kind of went in the middle, really in the interest of presenting a balanced budget. But hit.
Can you hear me, Jim?
Yeah, I can now, Ryan.
All right, sorry. You guys couldn't hear me, so I disconnected and called back in.
Great.
So I heard the first part of what Ted said, not the latter part, but the city just discussed this too, as far as our operating agreement with the trolley, and we spoke with Ron Lovelace, who put together that agreement, and it had support from the city to move forward. I think it's kind of recognized that the first installment payment from the city of Belmont and from Belmont Trolley would kind of be the seeding fund to make this thing happen. And so that's where we're at. I would imagine there's going to be some disruption coming from COVID-19, if for nothing else, just not being able for the trolley group to get together and meet in person. But I would think that everything will just kind of keep moving forward, and they want to start the design process. So I was just going to mention that, but yeah, I think they're expecting this 20,000 and moving forward.
And I'm not sure if you heard me. Obviously, it's in the budget, and I think we need to, to honor our commitment. So, regardless of what else we decide. So, so then going back to the Lyerly agency, I put in $30,000 for just maintaining the website, doing some media relations, and doing social media, which I guess if you're going to have a public face is kind of the minimum things that we need to do. And then I just kind of, as a placeholder, stuck $10,000 there in SEM, and I don't guess I was too far off of what Malia has proposed. I do agree with if we can see our way clear to spend anything, let's do the big things that attract people to Belmont. Holidays, we really have some momentum, especially with the events that take place downtown. I'm not really sure what's going to happen at the Garden this year. If you may be aware, you may not be aware that we start installation of our lights in August. So and usually we have to make purchases now, and so even how we pull off a holiday show is in question at this point. Sure, we'll do something, but it's just kind of in question is how we go about that. My assumption is McAdenville, which we heavily promote as well, is moving forward as is tradition. So kind of how Malia presented this, I think it's just now up to the board to discuss this and come to a consensus about what we maybe do here initially, possibly with the hope of growing in the future. By the future, I mean over the next several months. Thoughts?
Jim, this is Ryan. I'll just throw my thoughts out there for discussion, but I think doing the minimum with the Lyerly agency is probably best. It doesn't make sense to me to put together a master plan on marketing events or anything really that may or may not take place this year, especially now that we're going to be running on a reduced budget. So I would be supportive of maybe just kind of doing the minimum and dragging our feet as we kind of go through and chug along over the next couple months.
Carrie and Melanie, I hope you're going to chime in on this.
I just wish we had a crystal ball. I mean, I probably agree with Ryan that, to me, going with a minimum, and then if we see tourism go up and we have more more revenue coming in, then we can always add, I would imagine, if events happen. But I think just not knowing, just not knowing what events will look like, or if events will even be able to happen, it's tough to want to budget for something that you may not need it for. So it probably doesn't help much, but
Yep, it doesn't, but I don't have the crystal ball either. Carrie, I don't see you on the call anymore. Are you still here? I'm not sure if Carrie's here or not.
Computer. Can you hear
agree
me?
with what Ryan has said.
I can hear.
Can you hear me, Jim?
I can hear Ted, I believe.
No, this is Richard.
Richard, I hear you. Yes. Okay. Go ahead, Richard.
Yeah, and I agree with what Ryan said. I mean, it's hard to put together any kind of game plan right now. I mean, I think we may see some recovery in the summer, but my biggest concern is the fall. You know, what kind of winter are we going to experience? Hopefully it'll be a good one, but, you know, if we have a bad flu season come with this COVID, I mean, it could compound things and we could just be dead in the water the last 3 months. But I think being cautious is probably the best pathway forward. That's just my 2 cents.
All right.
Can you guys hear
Anybody
me?
else?
Yes.
I can hear you, Carrie.
Okay. So I agree with what everybody's saying. We are definitely taking a step back and not planning events currently, and doing a lot more digital hangouts and digital meetups and stuff for our customers. And from a textile industry, they've pretty much canceled out events for the rest of 2020. So the likelihood that events are going to happen anywhere, I think, are kind of slim.
I will chime in and tell you that the library is planning events in the fall. So not surprisingly. I don't know that they'll actually happen, but the team that does the events has been planning some as early as August. But I think they're also waiting to see sort of, you know, what the governor, you know, how we progress through these phases. You know, we have a large event in October. We always have a Bikers with Boxes event that draws about 1,200 bikers, and it's an outdoor event, but again, you know, there's really not any social distancing with that many people. So, you know, I don't know. I mean, I feel like that there is probably opportunity for some events to happen, especially outdoor ones, but yeah, I don't know. I just wanted to chime in and give that information.
Anyone else?
May I ask a question? So is everyone saying no search engine marketing, just drop that completely?
Let me see if I've got any more comments from the board.
Okay.
And I'll anybody else have any comments?
Jim, the revenue budget assumes that the new hotel is going to open. I assume there's some funds in that revenue budget from the new hotel opening in January. Is that true?
Yeah. Melanie doesn't have a crystal ball, but I do. So yes. You know, presumably the Home 2 opens in you know, early 2021. It's supposed to be January or so. And that did take into account in Ashley's comments last month, was that it could do better. And hopefully we're getting in January and having this conversation again and saying that we can do some other things and that, you know, we're going to have some spring and summer events and things are better and, you know, revenue, but everybody else. And I think what we're saying is if you take the budget I have and you remove the SEM from that, that would give us an expense budget of $7,850 is what I think everybody's saying. And you do that minimum and we see how it goes. Do I understand everybody correctly?
This is Ryan. Yeah, I mean, my view is really just not to make any permanent decisions with so much unknown. So, I mean, if things change in 60 days, we can have another conversation about how we want to move forward. But I mean,
So let me ask this question to be clear. If the Lyerly agency presents us with a contract for $30,000 for professional services as we've outlined, would the board approve that? Or can you give me the authority to approve that, I guess?
I think that's a very rational approach. I would hope that have Christmas events and things have opened up by then. We'll be able to pull some money back into search engine marketing for those kinds of events. But I do think the Lyerly agency's proposal for a $30,000 budget is probably prudent for us right now, and I'd be happy to give you the authority to approve that. And I would really love to see us keep some money in search engine marketing, or at least have the ability to rebudget if those events happen and we're progressing okay on revenue income during the next 6-month period.
Jim, I had a question. You had a lot of blank spots on here, like the webcam and the GGDC. Are we anticipating a request from all of them as well?
So we've already had an inquiry from the paddleboard event. I'm not sure that the Piedmont Culinary Guild event can happen, given social distancing restrictions. Ted, I mean, I think Ted would understand if we can't provide sponsorship of the webcam, and I would assume the chamber would go elsewhere to try to find that money. But yeah, my recommendation is that we don't fund any of those projects right now.
Well, Jim, I was reluctant to put in a request for that, knowing the situation for the tourism board, and of course you realize the situation for the chamber too. If things improve over the next few months, you may get a late grant application from me, but I did not do that intentionally because I knew there was going to be an issue. But for any kind of grants right now.
I will also mention that the Historical Society reached out to me. I'm not exactly sure what they were going to ask for funds to support, but they had intended on asking us for a grant as well. And I told them this discussion was about to happen, so I don't have to come to us at this point.
Okay, what did we do for the GGDC last year? Do you recall?
In that, let me see if I can get to that expenditure report really quickly.
And Richard, maybe you remember, did I think the travel and tourism paid for the whole thing last year, is that right?
Yeah, I believe that's correct. I want to say the request was somewhere around 17,000. I don't know why that number is popping into my head. I may be wrong.
Give me just a minute.
Okay.
I'm almost there. $15,625.
Close enough.
And I think you're right.
I don't know what they're going to ask for this year. I know they're shifting gears a little bit, and I don't know if the city wants to contribute this year, since the travel and tourism covered it all last year. But certainly, I want Belmont to participate in that through either the city or travel and tourism. I don't want to pull out. So it's kind of a long-term strategy. So I don't know if we need to. I don't know how much money to even put in there for it. But I'm just thinking out loud.
And it can come out of fund balance, or it can come out of improvements that we have in our revenue. So.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, maybe we'll just see what kind of money they're looking for and what they're going to do with it. And I mean, travel and tourism is the budgets that are taking the biggest hit right now. So it's tricky.
What other questions do we have from board members?
No, I mean, I don't have any question. I mean, just, I guess to kind of reiterate, I think proceeding with caution is going to be our best strategy because we have no idea what the summer will bring us. And we may have a little bit more clarity in July. But I am concerned about the fall, the last quarter. It could be okay, or it could be just a devastating quarter for us. So, I mean, I agree with what you're proposing as far as the budget and, you know, try to stand pat, but have the ability somewhat to be fluid and responsive if the situation on the ground changes.
Okay, so what I think the board is saying is that I can ask for a motion to budget that includes $70,000 in revenue and $57,850 in expenditures, and also allow me to enter into a contract for professional services with the Lyerly agency. If that's correct, can somebody make that
sounds good to
motion?
me.
You want to make that motion then, Ryan?
Yeah, I'll make the motion on the numbers of $70,000 revenue, $57,000 expenses.
Okay.
And moving forward with the Lyerly agency. And I assume that contract will come back to us, or will you just execute that?
I'm asking for authority to execute it now. I think it executes upon my signature with the board's approval. So.
Okay. I'm okay. Yeah. So I'll make that motion too. That's good.
We have a motion. Do we have a second from anybody?
I'll second. This is Carrie.
Thanks, Carrie. Motion, a second. Any further discussion? Hearing no further discussion, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Great. Thank you so much. Appreciate the thoughts, and hopefully we can get back to where we were. Moving on. Let's talk about membership. Still here to me. I don't know. I think Ann Stroop is still technically a member of this board. I think she would either have to resign or the city council would have to remove her, but I don't know what her status is now. She was laid off from the Hampton Inn, and there is a manager, sales director on board with the Hampton Inn. Getting feedback from somebody. Her name is Kim Mora. So my suggestion is we have Kim submit an application, and Cassidy informed me that this is the process, that Kim would submit an application for appointment to the board. She would be interviewed by city council, and city council would make that appointment. So, and Carrie, just to be clear, you are no longer associated with Strand, is it? And that's correct, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, you're with Coates now. So that still leaves us with one person short. We're required to have 1/3 of our membership as associated with the organization that collects the occupancy tax, which means we would have to add a third person that's associated with Strand or the Hampton Inn. And I think at the last meeting, we were suggesting that perhaps we wait until a general manager is appointed to the Home 2. And I think that sounds acceptable. Any questions or comments? suggestions of who else we might recruit to be a member of the board. And remembering that we really need to add a person that's associated with a organization that collects the occupancy tax. And Ted had suggested, oh, I'm sorry, Creative Travel, Ted. I can't recall her name.
Jim, I just asked if owners of vacation rentals by owner properties paid the occupancy tax and were eligible to fill that position, which would lead me to suggest that we have a conversation with Rebecca Johns, who owns Creative Travel in downtown Belmont.
Right. So how does the board feel about that, Rebecca Johns? She's certainly, very engaged in the city and active in the community. So,
I think she'd be good. I also think, whenever Home 2 has somebody, we need to get them engaged.
Sure, and it can be a process, and at the end of this year we'll have people that may or may not roll off. I can't remember who's coming up, whose terms come up. Should we ask Ted to reach out to Rebecca Johns since it's his suggestion? Can we do that? Do you like to do that, Ted?
I'll be glad to do that. I'll see her at the Rotary Club meeting later today.
Okay. And then that is the process. She would submit an application. I think Cassidy is an application online, a fairly simple application. And then there's a very short interview with City Council to consider her application would be the process. So,
Jim, I missed the last name of the person named Kim that is also being considered.
Pecora, Pecora.
Thank you.
Okay. I don't think we need a formal motion to do that. So, unless anybody has concerns, that's what we'll do. All right. Any other business to come before the board? Any other comments from the board? Great. Well, thank you. I know it's a tough time, but we will get through it. We will prevail. And I think I hear lots of good things about downtown Belmont in particular. And hear lots of good things about the dining al fresco. Have not done that myself, but did make it to brunch at Nellie's on Sunday, and so it
good.
felt pretty good. So hopefully we can bounce back one way or another with some other creative ideas. So anything else? Anybody? Thank you so much for your time. Have a good day.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye, thanks.